Hello, Face. I am here to introduce you to another new addition to the Chad Allen method, equipment technology here to serve you. I was introduced to this piece of equipment through a professional call where I was dialoguing with other professionals in the health, vitality, wellness community. And they mentioned their use of this particular piece of equipment. So I investigated it and I decided it was worth the investment to bring to the Chad Allen method, and it is called InBody. And InBody is going to give us an opportunity to take a look at our body composition in detail. And there are lots of reasons why we would want to do this. But in the way that I use metrics with my clients, like biofeedback equipment, heart rate variability, light emission to the body through BioWell, though these metrics make a lot of sense to me, and gratefully, my clients trust me that the information that I share back with them, the feedback portion, they trust and follow and pursue the recommendations based on that. But I wanted to bring a metric that is a little more familiar and a little more relatable so that we can use that metric feedback as a way of both holding us accountable to the adherence to the program and then also the program that I've created with you. And also for us to be able to track the results and the outcomes of some of the other technologies we may be using, for example, like LifeWave patches, whether they are doing what we believe them to be doing. So let's talk about body composition in some detail. So here's a really awesome graph I'm going to show you. This is an InBody report, which is actually what you will receive every time you come in for an InBody session. So we're going to be looking at things like body weight. I'm going to come in a little closer so you can see body weight broken down into detail. So here we have our body composition analysis right up top. So we see things like intracellular and extracellular water. We're going to see the total amount of body water, and then we'll see intracellular and extracellular, which is really great because it helps us understand the difference between hydration and, say, inflammation. Inflammation from an injury or something more metabolic. So there's different, we'll get a numerical value. I'll help you to understand what those things mean. Below that, we see dry lean mass. Kind of keep those words separate. Dry lean mass versus body fat mass. So we'll see those things separated out also. So we'll combine some of these numbers to look at what is commonly referred to as a lean body mass, which is not the same thing as dry lean mass. Obviously, that's your mass minus your body water. When you see a lean body mass, we're also including water in that number. And then we're going to include our fat mass, and then we'll get our total weight, but in all the ways that we need to see it. And if that were all that the machine did, that would be interesting and good. But there are machines that do this, maybe not with the same water breakdown. But let's go a little bit further and take a look to the next one, which is the muscle fat analysis. So we're going to get information based on weight, skeletal muscle mass, and then body fat mass. So we're going to be able to tell how much of the mass that we're seeing, that number, is actually muscle, and what it would be referred to as skeletal muscle mass. This would be your skeleton, your muscles, your ligaments, your tendons, etc. Things that are not fat, things that are not water. Okay, and so we're going to get an analysis of that, which will help us to see whether we fall into normal zones, above normal, or below normal. And there may be reasons why we'd want to be below and or above in some of these numbers. And that's what we're going to go through together when you come in for your session. Next breakdown we're going to see is an obesity analysis. So we're going to see things like body mass index is what most people are familiar with, but we would actually prefer to look at something called percent body fat. This is a much more accurate and helpful metric. So we're going to get that on this machine. So we'll be able to understand where our body fat lands in terms of rating us toward or away from obesity. Okay, moving down a little bit further, segmental is my favorite, segmental lean analysis. This is so awesome. This gives us the ability to look at our muscle mass, our muscle density per segment of our body, each arm, each leg, and our trunk. So 5 zones we'll be looking at: right arm, trunk, right leg, and left leg. And we're going to be able to see, what is the actual poundage, and then what's the percentage? And we would be able to identify if we are currently holding a greater than 3% difference between one side of the body than the other. That would help us indicate which part of the body is imbalanced muscularly. It might also help us to understand what we're working with if we keep seeing a repeated back pattern, for example. It might be that we have one leg that just does not have enough muscle mass compared to the other leg. That would be really good to know because we would then make adjustments accordingly. Also, we could look at the mass of the trunk versus the mass of the legs. We may be able to identify that maybe we don't have enough musculature in the lower body to hold up and support the trunk and the weight of the arms. So anyway, one of my favorite zones, we're going to get a lot of feedback there. Again, we get normal, we get below, we get greater than feet analysis comparisons. I'm going to angle the camera down so I can lose my face here for a second. Then we're going to see extracellular and total body water breakdowns. So we'll be able to look at things like, I already mentioned it, things like hydration versus inflammation. And then below that, we're going to see body composition history. And this is what's going to happen each time you come in. You're going to see your baseline will be your first one. And then every follow-up report after that, we're going to get a graph. So we're going to be able to see and track the impact of the program that we're participating in. How is it impacting our body composition? Now I'm going to come over. The report is also going to make some recommendations, which is also really nice because in some instances, we may have in our mind an idea of what we think our body mass should be. So maybe we think we should weigh a certain amount, and maybe that's accurate, maybe it's not accurate, but this is going to give us a recommendation based on all of these calculations combined. Do we need to change our fat mass? Do we? Maybe we don't. Do we need to change our lean body mass? Maybe we do. And maybe we haven't thought about that necessarily as our primary target. We might be thinking about fat loss, but maybe not weight gain in this area. As we move down, we're also going to see our segmental fat analysis, not unlike the lean body mass analysis. We're seeing segmental fat analysis. So we'll see the percentage of fat in each arm, each leg, and the trunk. We're going to get a basal metabolic rate, which is going to be based on all this information, not on some other calculation. How many calories does it take to maintain? What is our basal metabolic requirement just to maintain our structure? So that's helpful because if we get a recommendation like we see here, it says let's gain 9.3 pounds of muscle mass, but we would also recommend losing 18.3 pounds of fat mass. That may ultimately then affect our basal metabolic caloric consumption, okay? And the last and very important measurement is visceral fat level. This is the fat between the organs. It's going to tell us whether we sit in the where we don't want to exceed, which would be 10. So we'd prefer not to go beyond 10. We'd like to be below 10. Obviously, lower is better for when it comes to visceral fat. There's all kinds of reasons why you want to keep your visceral fat as in the low area to remain healthy. But you're going to get this in each one. And then what you see below that is just a description of each of these. And then on your chart, you're also going to see a QR code. You're probably familiar with a QR code. Here it is right here, a QR code. And when you scan it, it's going to take you to your report. I'm going to give you one when you walk out the door, but you're also going to get a copy of it. So a QR code that you can then access anytime based on your account that we're going to create together. Super, super easy. Okay, so this is a photograph of, you can see the image. It looks a little bit like a power plate, actually, the InBody, but I'm going to take you to it right now. So in preparation to take you over there and show you where it's at, you've been in the studio recently, you probably have seen it. It's in the gyrotonic studio, the private studio with the biodensity machine and the springboard from Pilates. But let's move in real quickly and see it together. So this will be nice because you're going to have a nice amount of privacy when we do these sessions because we're going to dialogue about what we discover. So here is the beautiful InBody. I'm going to turn the light on for you so you can see it even better. Okay, so here's the InBody. So you're going to see there's very easy. You're going to stand there with your bare feet. You will have to remove your shoes and socks. So if you come in with any kind of hosiery or anything, we'll have you go to the restroom and remove those so that we get access to your feet. And then you'll stand, and then these handles will be brought forward for you to hold on to. There we go. You'll hold each one in your hand, just slightly away from your body, and it's going to be able to measure all of the information we just discussed in the different segments of your body. So your feet have contact, your hands have contact, and then it will be able to differentiate between your limbs and your trunk. And then it's going to print out immediately, and then we'll go through the information together So this is the new InBody. The first time you come in and we do this, I'm going to anticipate that session will probably take us somewhere comfortably about 20 to 30 minutes, and not unlike our very first biodensity session. And then after we do that, your follow-up sessions will be 15 minutes, just like biodensity. So it will share the same pricing as biodensity. So the InBody sessions, depending on your program, I would encourage and I would like you to do an InBody every approximately 2 to 4 weeks, depending on your program. If we do your first InBody and we see great, we don't really have any changes to make, everything is looking great, we're not going to make any recommendations that you either do with me or with others to make any changes to your body composition, then we maybe do it once a month just to check in and just make sure that all is going well. It is very common in populations of a certain age that we begin to see deterioration of muscle mass and increase in body fat. The thing that we want to really pay attention to is that muscle mass component. And yes, the body fat. If we're not in visceral body fat, and we'll know that, then we would really be paying attention to what is the lean muscle mass ratio of the body currently. That's going to have a lot to do with our structural health, our energy levels, et cetera, our available energy versus our stored energy. So anyway, there's going to be lots of applications of this, but you're not looking at doing this every time you come into the studio. We're looking at somewhere between 2 and 4 weeks, doing an InBody check-in just to make sure that all is going according to plan or better. But it's available here. This equipment is used by the US government, is used at Cedars-Sinai here in Los Angeles, UCLA, and other locations where there's an investigation and a prioritization of a deeper understanding than just basic measurements like body fat, BMI, body mass index, or body weight. Those two numbers are very vague in terms of what do we do about those numbers, as opposed to the InBody is going to give us great in-depth information so we can make really good, deliberate, conscious, effective choices. So that is available right now. If you have a biodensity package, you can use any one of your sessions toward your InBody session. If you don't have one of those yet, you can add one to your account, and then you'll have it that you can use for your future InBody sessions. Okay, that's the update. I can't wait to get you in and share it with you for the very first time. And also for us to make any really great, useful choices based on that information. Okay, I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye.